Hi guys and gals, Froggy here. What I'm going to show you today is a fairly complete checklist on what you need to do if you're going to take your vehicle on a road trip. Now this is my 2000 Explorer. My daughter drives it. She lives about an hour away and she knows how to check basically the oil level and the coolant level, and not a whole lot more. And when she's having an honest moment with me, she'll admit she doesn't really check those very often. But she comes home to visit, so I check the car over when she comes home. When I'm gone, who knows who's going to check the car. But anyway, here's the checklist. This is what we're going to go over. I'll read it off to you in case it doesn't come through on the video. Road trip checklist: engine, oil, coolant, belts, battery, air filter, wipers, top off the fluid, brake fluid, power steering fluid, transmission fluid, tires and brakes, the tread on the tires, how much brake pad is left on the brakes. Oh, and I should add air pressure on the tires. So that's what we're going to go through. Here's our dipstick. Some newer cars will have just a indicator inside the car. They won't even have a dipstick, but we're going to go for some of our older cars that do have dipsticks. Usually it's a brightly covered handle. This one has yellow printing on it. We're going to pull a dipstick. We're going to see what the oil level is. By the way, I already checked the service records, and this truck is due for an oil change, so I might do an oil change on it tomorrow. But right now we're just going to check the oil level. The oil has this dipstick has a hole at the low level and a hole at the high level. There, now you can see both of them. The oil level is up to the high hole, so the oil level is good on this truck. It needs to be changed though, so that'll be another video tomorrow probably. Most of your coolant systems have an overflow bottle or reservoir. This one does. I'm holding a flashlight on it. You can see, maybe you can see up high here, there's no fluid. Down low right there is fluid. The fluid level mark has a cold. If the fluid is cold, it's got a mark down below, which I think you can see. I took a magic marker and made it black so it shows up easier. And there's a high level also. And this one is good. I'm probably going to add maybe 12 ounces to it just to bring it up a little bit more, but that's a good level because this engine is cold. Now I need to show you something else. You don't just check the reservoir. You also want to check the radiator itself. Make sure the engine's cold, which it is, and open up the reservoir and see if that's full, which it is. The reason you want to do this is there could be a blockage between here and the coolant. You could get a punctured radiator. This could be dry, and if there was a blockage somewhere in between, there's a hose that runs between these two, you'd still have fluid in your overflow bottle or your reservoir bottle. So there you go. Make sure you check both of those. Windshield washer fluid. This I expect is going to be a little low, and it is. It's down about halfway, so we're going to add some of that too. Power steering fluid. This has a minimum and a maximum markings, min-max. I think you can see that there. And I'm going to shine a light in the back and you can see it's right in between the min and the max, so it's good. You also want to check the color of your power steering fluid. I dipped a rag in there. It's pretty bright red, which is a good sign. That means this fluid, which I know it was changed maybe 10 or 15,000 miles ago. So if yours is really dark red or black, power steering fluid needs to be changed. Brake fluid has a max. There you can see the writing just underneath the neck of the cap. I'm going to backlight it. I think you can see that the level is up just below the max, which is good. You also want to check the color of the brake fluid. Don't get too crazy on me. This is blue brake fluid. Why is it blue brake fluid? Well, there's actually a high-performance racing brake fluid called ATE, and that's what I put in this truck when I did last time I did a brake flush. It's not really necessary for this truck, but it's what I had on hand, so I used it. Usually this will be a amber to a clear colored fluid. Power steering fluid will be red usually. Coolant will be green usually, but some of the new ones are orange, and actually my Lexus has pink coolant, so figure that out. Blue for your windshield washer fluid. And these colors of the fluids are tips. If you see something leaking under your car, you can look at the color of it, and you can also feel it to see if it feels like oil. Or the power steering fluid feels a little different than oil, but it's kind of hard to tell unless you really know what you're looking for. You can tell by the smell sometimes also. Let's check the battery. Checking the battery, you want to make sure that the battery acid water combination is above the plates. The plates are little metal things down that you can see down inside. It looks like a grid, and it needs to be not so high as to be, overflowing out the holes. There's a little plastic sleeve you can look at that you can go in between the plates and up to the bottom of the sleeve, but I wouldn't go over the bottom of the sleeve. This one looks good. I see one that might be down just a hair right there, so I'm going to put maybe 1 or 2 ounces of water in that last cell. Before you leave the battery, look at the positive and negative terminals. If you see any whitish, fuzzy corrosion stuff, that's not a good sign. You need to clean those terminals. That's a different video though. Make sure they're tight. Give them a real good tug. Yeah, that feels okay. So wipe the top of your battery off. Everything you do in here, you should have safety glasses and gloves on. If you see Froggy without gloves, do as I say, not as I do. Just been doing it for a long time, and I know what to touch and not touch, and it doesn't seem to bother Froggy, but you should wear gloves. Take a look at the belts. Should be 2 belts usually. They're called Serpentine belts. They both run off the crank of the engine. One of them is for air conditioning, and the other one is for all your accessories, your alternator, your power steering. So you want to look to the inside where the ribs are, not so much the outside. The outside usually looks okay, but the inside, there, the inside is where you see little cracks starting, and this one looks good. And let's see if we can find the other. Now this Ford Explorer is actually one serpentine belt. You've got that belt that runs the AC right there, power steering pump right there, the fan right there, and the alternator way over on the other side. And there's a couple of tensioner and just plain pulleys in between. So we're all set with one belt on this one. To check the air filter, there's two clips, one on each side, and then you have to shove this. It sets into some tabs on this side. You see those tabs on there, one there and one there. You have to shove it towards the driver's side until those tabs get clear. So this is not an easy thing to do. I'll need both hands. Okay, here's where our air cleaner is. And let me look at the other side of it. It's getting a little bit dirty. I think when I do the oil change, I'll put a new one of these in. I would do one of these once a year or every 12,000 miles, whichever comes first. Wipers are the last thing to look at up here in this front engine area. If they're torn, they're no good. Get some new ones. Usually people know when their wipers are bad because they'll start streaking. But if you live in some part of the country where it doesn't rain much and maybe you get your car washed a lot so the windshield doesn't get really dusty, then you might not realize it, that they're worn out. So that concludes everything up in the engine area. We topped off some fluids and inspected our belts, and we have no check engine lights. Everything's running good. So let's go on to the tires and brakes. One last item under the hood, and that's our automatic transmission fluid. This is the only check that you do with the engine running. Make sure the parking brake is on. The engine should be warmed up and the transmission should be warmed up. Drive the car a little bit if you need to bring it up to operating temperature. When you stop the car, make sure it's level. Run the automatic transmission shift lever through all the gears. Make sure it pauses in reverse, low, drive, all the different positions of the automatic transmission fluid. Then when you've done that, come out. The stick is usually got a bright color. Here's the yellow stick. It's longer than your dipstick because it's going to go back a little further in the car to the automatic transmission, which is behind the engine most of the time. It should be in the cross-hatch marked when warm. You don't want to overfill it. You don't want it underfilled. I just pulled this one already. I'll see if I can show it to you. The fluid level is right at the bottom of the hatch marks, and this is not a fully warmed up engine. The fluid will expand, so I'm going to leave this as okay for a pretty cool engine. It's not a cold engine, but it's not warmed up yet. When it's warmed up, it would probably come maybe a half an inch above that into the crosshatch mark. I'm not getting any slippage, so I'm okay. Back down the hole for that one. Now this truck also has, before you start posting up comments, it also has a transfer case. It's a four-wheel drive truck, and it has a differential, and those both take gear oil, or differential oil and gear oil. So those are usually not part of a monthly or even, they might be part of an annual checkup. I'm not going to do those, but I want to tell you about them so that you can get them done. Both of those are done just by opening up a plug. It has a fill plug and a drain plug. The level of the fluid should be up to the fill plug so that there's actually a little bit of fluid dripping out the fill plug when you fill them up. You should be able to stick your little finger in there and feel the fluid. If you can't feel the fluid, then it's probably a little low. It needs to be topped off. Tires, you want to take a look at all four of them. You want to check the air pressure on them. Look on the driver's side door jamb. It'll tell you what air pressure should be set to. You can use the penny check or the quarter check. It used to be a penny, and then with inflation I guess it went up to a quarter, but you should be able to place the coin anywhere on the tire, and if the head of the president on the coin, if it touches the head, it's supposed to be a sign that the tires are getting worn down. I don't know. I don't think the quarter check works for me because that's pretty close to the top of the head there, and these tires are good. I know they're good. What I really go by is the wear bars. Now this tire has wear bars here, here, all the way around the tire. If the tread is worn down so that the wear bar is even with the tread, then you got a problem. Then you've got an issue, and then you should be looking for some new tires. Okay? Well, this is a little tricky, but I've got an inspection mirror, and if I can get my headlamp on there good enough and get the camera pointed right, I can show you how much brake pad is left. This is going to be, I'll be amazed if this shows up on the video. But anyway, usually you check your brake pads when you've got your wheels off the car. So if you're getting your wheels rotated, that would be a good time to bring a flashlight with you and check the brake pads. These pads are good. Like I said, geez, I don't know if that's going to show up for you or not. Probably not, but I can see a good 5 or 6 millimeters of brake pad. These are pretty fresh. I set the tire pressures up to 32 pounds all around. They were down a little low. My daughter hasn't been here for a couple of months, so obviously she's not checking the pressures. They were about 29, which is not terrible, but 32 is better. So they're all set up now. Let's go check the lights now. Good. Low beams are good. Looks like I do have like a marker light here, so I'll have to go to Pep Boys or Cragen and get the correct bulb for that. Let's check high beams. High beams are good. We've got tail lights. I don't know if it'll show up on the video, but we do. I guess you can see that from there. Let's do signals. Left signal. Front is nice. Right signal. Front is nice. So all we got is this one little marker bulb here. We'll pick one of those up when we go get our oil tomorrow for the oil change. So that's a wrap. If I missed anything, post it up in the comments. I'm not perfect, but that's a pretty thorough going over and checking of the car. If this helps you out, give me a thumbs up. If you want more from Froggy, subscribe to my channel. Froggy's Garage is out.